Craig Bolanos, co-founder and wealth advisor at VestGen Wealth Partners. Craig, I found the test, the 8 questions that test our financial literacy that showed us at an all-time low. I don't think the questions are too hard, but I could see a couple people being tripped up. But, boy, the data, this isn't good. We got to learn a little more, don't we, Craig?
No, I think financial literacy is so important, but I'm reminded that people sometimes overthink the answers,
Yes.
right, John? The most obvious clue is deceptive, and that's what's part of that financial literacy test. But I think it speaks to a broader knowledge. I'm going to say it. I think we need to be teaching the basics of finance. That's healthcare, insurance, budgeting, self-responsibility, and direction of investment. Those all need to start in elementary school, through middle school, into high school, and then we should have some basic collegiate courses that launch the next generation of American leaders and entrepreneurs with a basic sense of finance, not just engineering and science.
Yeah, we like to all complain we didn't get the education we should have, and I think that that's all correct. But then I got to look in the mirror and say, well, what am I doing to teach my kids or grandkids about this? And a lot of us, even though we agree with the statement, I didn't learn enough about my finances, we don't pass it on to the next generation. We just kind of go, well, it's a little too early to talk about it, or I don't know how to talk about money with kids. We all got to step up here, Craig.
No, everyone's got to step up. And listen, money shouldn't be anything taboo. I think it's less taboo than it ever was. And please remember, with young people of all ages being embraced with technology that's democratized so much information, they're either going to learn it from their device or they're going to learn it from mom and dad, grandma and grandpa. Let it be us so that those money values can transcend the generations. So have the money conversations. I think it's a responsibility for every parent and grandparents in America.
If you don't mind the shameless plug, next week, a week from right now, we're going to have the kids they're young adults, but they're from Build a Biz. Come on, they're a nonprofit that does exactly what we're talking about, Craig. They do it in the Chicago suburbs. They have Zoom classes that go as far as Africa, teaching kids kind of the basics about things. It's a really popular summer camp, so tune in next Wednesday. We'll have a little bit of their language, and that'll teach us how we can teach the next generation. Okay, Craig, let's move on to broader topics. I said last week that fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or however that saying goes, about the deal that's going to come between Iran and the U.S. I don't want to say I'm right because we have no idea yet, and this thing could pop up at any moment. But, Craig, I think that there is just a lesson out there that until these things are signed, done, and delivered, and even after that fact, things just change on a swivel in the Mideast.
No, the Middle East has always been a little bit of powder keg. It's as fragile as anything gets. We've been dealing with that for the longest of time, and fossil fuels and oil prices matter to every industrialized economy throughout the free world. So here's my thing. It's not done until it's done, but we can look past, and someone says, how is the market still doing so well? Sure, we took a breather today. The market is data-driven, and I'm not talking about the high cost of oil with West Texas Intermediate at 96. It's still a long ways from the 66 per barrel we were pre-war, but you have to look at the earnings per share for the S&P 500 and how it's broadened away from just technology companies. There's a good story here, John. There's not a recession in 26. It's fundamentally an economy stronger than what most consensus believes.
Okay, I want to talk about SpaceX a little bit. I think it's big news. I think it's exciting. I'm not necessarily thrilled that we're going to have the world's first trillionaire. It doesn't really impact me at all, but I do think it's an interesting company that you could be a part of. And they set their price is going to be $135 each a share. Craig, I wanted to get your opinion maybe on SpaceX on a whole, or just what you think about also the fact that like the indexes are changing some of their rules to try and get SpaceX to be part of their tent earlier than the normal waiting period that accounts for the volatility. I hope you can make some sense out of the question I just asked you, Craig.
Well, I think it shows how transformative companies are when they are led by true visionaries. And regardless of what anyone feels about Elon Musk's politics, his demeanors, etc., everybody has to acknowledge that he is nothing short of a visionary. That being said, the SpaceX IPO, it's all set. Friday, June 12th, it's coming out. You said the number, and you said it well. I think we're going to price somewhere around $135 a share. Well, that's where the stock is going to price. The issue is where that stock is going to trade. That could be reason for people to pause. There's going to be such limited demand, limited float, that this thing is going to be oversubscribed. This stock could end up trading double that easily on the initial market open. And that's why I think anybody who wants to get involved in SpaceX on the day of the IPO needs to understand the difference between a market order and a limit order so they don't overpay for something that they can't afford to actually buy.
Say more about that, because there's a lot of us that maybe use a brokerage account and buy stocks through it or E-Trade or something. What did you just say? And make sure that we don't mess this up next Friday.
Let's be really clear. If you want to participate in the SpaceX IPO, have at it. Again, as an investor, you're not participating in the IPO. You're participating when that stock first publicly trades. When you buy a stock that publicly trades, you can buy it at the market. That means your price will be filled at the next possible price, but you have no control over what that price is. So you could go ahead and place a market order thinking you're going to get 135 a share, but if the opening trade on SpaceX, because it's so oversubscribed and so over-demanded, maybe the first trade starts at 270 a share, double, you're going to pay 270. And then the institutional underwriters who are bringing this stock public, who are given shares, what if they sell you down? And next thing you know, you look like Cerebras or Cerebras, that other company that was recently oversubscribed, IPO'd at 150, debuted at 300, and the stock is nowhere close to 300. Everybody got taken away. Use a limit order on the first day to control your price action so you too don't exceed your personal risk budget in your brokerage account.
That's such good advice or good thoughts on the matter. Yes, when you're doing it, there's a limit. You can set your cap so you don't end up in that situation. What do you think, and got about a minute left, of index funds changing their rules a bit to allow SpaceX to become part of their portfolios only maybe a couple of weeks later? I think that there could be some gains that people are going to get out of this. They're going to be glad that their index fund bought in early.
I think index investors are clamoring in demand access to what the new market looks like. And anytime rock star companies, and I am going to put SpaceX in that camp, even if they lose money, thank heavens for Starlink right now. I think it makes sense to do the inclusion in the index. I think that inclusion in the index sooner is actually going to help with the way this stock is going to trade and provide some stability. But I would be much more excited if SpaceX, Musk, and the underwriters maybe curbed market orders. I know that doesn't sound American, but I think it should because of financial literacy that everybody needs. And I hope they release a lot more of the float to inject some liquidity so we don't have as wide and very different price. But again, invest in innovation. Innovation creates disruption. That's a secular long-term megatrend, and SpaceX is certainly one of those.
Craig Bolanos has a way with words, and VestGen has a way with your money and talking through it. Get retired, stayretired.com. Craig, as always, thank you. Talk soon.
Great to be with you and your audience, John.